You ever seen one of those YouTube videos that starts with the presenter saying, "Hey guys, so many of you asked me about this thing, I've decided to make a video," and then they go on to tell you about how to get perfect eyebrows or baked banana bread or some shit like that. Well, this video is like that, except that I'm not going to pretend anybody's asked me to make it, I'm just doing it because I want to. This video is about why my Meteor Works Icea is the perfect bike for adventure rides and bikepacking. But I'm not going to show it to you just yet. At the end of my last video, I made a joke about not looking after it properly and getting it repossessed by the frame builder. It took them less than 24 hours to see that video and give me a call and politely suggest that I should bring it in for a service. I say politely suggest, it was more like, "Oi, what the You get my point. So I'm here at Velo Atelier to get the bike serviced and restore it back to the way it should be. Right, that's going to take a while, so while they're doing that, let's have a little bit of history. To do that, we've got to take a little trip out to Coventry. If I say Coventry to you, what did you immediately think of? City flattened in the war, rebuilt with the worst ring road in history? If you're local, you might think positively and think of the city of culture. If you like your music, maybe you think about two-tone records and the music of the specials. And possibly the worst away kit in the history of football. But what you should think about is bicycles, because Coventry is the home of the modern bicycle. At one stage, they had over 400 different companies manufacturing bikes. There's even a statue in the middle of the city dedicated to James Starley, the man that many people see as the father of the cycling industry. Oddly though, there's nothing in the city that commemorates his much more famous and illustrious nephew, John Kemp Starley, the man who changed the bicycle industry forever. John Kemp Starley was the man who introduced the diamond frame bike, using two wheels of the same size, the rider sitting in the middle of the bike and driving the rear wheel through a chain. Why am I bothering to tell you all of this? Well, because J.K. Starling built all of his bikes just a stone's throw away from that statue, down the road here, at a factory he called the Meteor Works. Within a few years, Starley had taken his company public, changed its name to the Rover Car Company, started making cars, and the rest is history. But his diamond-shaped frame remains with us today. The name Meteor Works disappeared when the factory was knocked down, until it was brought back to life by a local frame builder called Lee Prescott. Lee is not only a frame builder, but also a bike fitter extraordinaire, and a man who has a lot of experience with long-distance bikepacking trips. He brought all of those things together to build this Meteor Works Icea bike. Icea, by the way, is the Norse name for the pantheon of the gods. So my bike is literally built for the gods. So what makes it so special? And why do I think it's the perfect bike for adventure rides and bikepacking? Let's start with the frame. It's built of steel, with each tube individually selected by Lee to meet a specific requirement. It doesn't come in a kit like many other steel bikes. If you like your welding, then look at the quality of the joins, and the dropouts are like a piece of art. The front fork is carbon fibre and designed to take internal cable routing in the expectation of adventure riders using dynamo hubs, and he's not wrong, it's next on my list. The 6-stage paint job is of course perfect, and I absolutely love the colour. The geometry of the bike has been designed by someone who personally knows what it's like to ride thousands of kilometres backpacking. In the end, we went for the Shimano Gravel Specific GRX group set. It's a one-by, which I was sceptical about at first, but I've ridden up 20% climbs fully laden, so now I'm a convert. Conversely, coming down the other side of hills like that, you want to be able to stop, so of course it's got hydraulic disc brakes. I've got 35mm gravel tyres on, but the fork and frame has clearance to take up to 40mm wide. These sector rims are wide enough to let me switch to tubeless when I'm ready, and finally, of course, the fit is perfect. Not surprising when it was completed by a bloke who's done over 3,500 fittings. Right, time to find out what Lee's done to my bike to bring it back to life.
So the first job was basically totally strip the whole frame down. So every component's been removed and assessed. There were one or two components that literally just had to be scrapped. So we actually have replaced both of the bearings in the bottom bracket and the bottom headset bearing. Then we deep cleaned everything, cleaned the frame internally as well as externally, so that there's no detritus inside the frame that can then get stuck into bearings and that sort of thing. All the standard components were then just re-greased, ready for reassembly. All of the drivetrain components, so the chain rings, all of the cassette was then fully stripped, degreased, ultrasonically cleaned, and then the chain was soaked in alcohol and then waxed. And then it was put back together essentially as a new bike. So it had totally new gear cables. The hydraulic cable was fine, didn't need replacing. It has had new disc brakes, new disc brake pads front and rear, and then just reassembled to our normal standard spec. I've also faced the disc brake mounts just to make sure that runs true and we don't get any brake rubbing. And the wheels were then checked for true as well, so the spokes have been all checked for tension and a couple were tightened up. Otherwise the wheels were pretty good.
So how much of that is just general wear and tear and how much is my irresponsible bike behaviour?
So given the mileage you do on this, it was pretty par for the course. The drivetrain was pretty grimy. A little bit more cleaning of the drivetrain will help make that last a lot longer. But now that we've waxed your chain rather than you using lubes, that's going to help because you're not having to worry about putting new lube on. The chain is dry, so it won't be picking up detritus as you're riding along. So that in itself should help keep the whole drivetrain cleaner and freer of debris anyway.
Now for the really painful bit. Now for anybody wondering, is it worth paying all that money to get your bike serviced like that? Well, here I am at 7 o'clock in the morning on the deserted roads in Warwickshire, and the bike feels and looks like new. So that's my answer. I'm sure there are also some of you thinking this is like a 10-minute advert for Meteor Works. Yeah, I can see that, but I can assure you I paid for the bike and everything else in this video. I didn't get so much as a free bead-on or t-shirt from Lee. Note to self, why didn't I get a free bead-on? I'm going to leave a link to the full video of the chain waxing, just for those who are into their mechanical porn. And yes, Lee helped me by filming some of the work himself, but blimey, there's a pandemic. I can't go and stand in his workshop and watch him do it. Just listen to that. Absolutely nothing, just the sound of my wheels and chain whirring round. Bliss. Of course, in reality there's no such thing as the perfect adventure bike. Every bike can take you on an adventure. But what I love about this bike is it's given me the ability to go a different way and take a different road. Having the ice here has meant I've ended up riding on very different roads and taking different directions. And that for me is why it's perfect. It's opened up a whole new world and a whole new type of cycling for me. And that's the adventure. Time to get to work. I'm still uncomfortable with the whole YouTube thing of like, comment, subscribe, but please do like, but particularly comment and subscribe. Thanks.